Hey folks, welcome to the space. Today we are talking a little bit about how to not just prevent burnout, but how to get financially free through our content creation process as healers, as therapists, as social workers. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the work we've been able to do together around brand partnerships. Shauna is one of my amazing clients, but also I consider a colleague and a friend. And I want you to know this, Shauna. I want to give you your flowers in the beginning. You going through the brand partnership process in S4P taught me so much, right? Like, not just the community. I learned so much. And I think it's one of the reasons that I've been able to establish this recent brand partnership is because I could utilize some of the things I learned from you as a model. So just thank you for always like contributing, giving so much to the community, to the space, and even in the content world through your TikTok. I just really appreciate your labor.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the experience with the brand partnership was like it felt like a whole new world, and I'm really just excited that people are able to kind of like utilize that and see another source of revenue for themselves and their business.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. So I'm excited to get into it. Y'all got to stay for a little bit before we'll get into that. We're gonna say that a little bit to the end, so you stick around for the full conversation. But Shauna, let people know a little bit about who you are and what you do, and what brings you joy.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So, hey, my name is Shauna A. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor, licensed. My home state is North Carolina, but also able to provide therapy in Florida and South Carolina. I'm a private practice owner, and in my private practice, I focus on perinatal mental health and fertility impairment. And that is the majority of my caseload. But I also really enjoy working with adults who are just kind of like working through those emotional needs that kind of went unmet in childhood. So, like a lot of my clients, they are super successful or they appear to be super successful, but they don't really feel it. And so now we're going back, reconnecting those things and, helping them realize how much being seen, heard, and validated is like so important to them. So that's what I do as a therapist. But a big thing for me is that I recognize that I am an innovative service driven therapist. And so for me, I have like endless ideas. I'm always ready to do something different, something new. It sometimes gets me in a little bit of trouble, but for the most part, I find that I'm not the only person who's like that. I know a lot of people who are like, I get all these ideas and they are afraid that they'll lose all of their ideas. But sometimes that drives them a little bit to burnout. I know it does for me for sure. And so, what I do on the other side is that I act as a consultant to therapists and therapist business to help them build out that sustainable career so that they are doing more than just meeting clients on the couch. They're going beyond that and they're getting to use their innovative mind to expand and build a sustainable career for themselves and expand that impact.
I love that. I love that because what you're doing is you're helping the healers not only become better healers, but to sustain themselves. And what we know, right, is like if the cup is not like overflowing, then people are really going to either burn out or they're not going to sustain in the business. And then we're not going to see enough, primarily, I mean, healers and therapists and social workers of color, right, which is, I think, a lot of the folks that you support, we won't see them in the field and then we won't have the people to be able to support us. So what does it take to build a sustainable like business as a healer, as a therapist? What does it take to do that? Like what are maybe 3 steps that folks need to consider when they're trying to build out their business?
Oh, I love that. I think that the first thing that every therapist should recognize is that most of us were not taught formally how to build out our business, but many
Mhm.
of us have always thought about being the person with a couch.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the funny thing is, when I was in grad school, I remember my grad degree is in community counseling. So when I was in grad school, I was learning how to be a therapist. They were training us to be out there practicing, but there was not one class on you being the owner of that practice. It was
Mm,
always somebody else driving that. And so I think the big thing of creating that sustainable career is going back and just like revisioning that and working from what you already have and learning how to like break that down and build it back up again so that it reflects what you want in the future. So that's step one, having the vision. Step two is finding other people who also have a vision. I do a roundtable series, and whenever I talk to other therapists who are doing like things that I've always dreamed of, right? They're putting on retreats, they're out there, they're speaking, they're doing so many cool things. All of them say like, "Oh, well, I just took the risk. I thought I wanted to do this thing and I went out and I tried it." And so I think the big thing for therapists is that we tend to be risk adverse. We tend to like not even try. And we get a lot of messages of like, you just have to do what's traditional, right? Traditionally, no, I never needed a niche. I've heard that so many times. But really, when you're operating in what feels like a very modern world, where we're competing against AI, we're competing against big providers with lots of money backing them. We're competing against all sorts of different kinds of technology and lots of money backing technology as well. When you're faced with that, it's really hard to lean back into the traditions and think that the tradition is going to move you forward. So you have to surround yourself with other people who can vision that too, and who can help you innovate the way that you would like to see your practice moving forward. And then I think the third thing that's so important for us as clinicians is to just recognize your capacity. A lot of us are functioning well beyond our capacity. We don't even realize it. And the next thing you know, we're totally burned out. We are exhausted. We can't even get up to see another client. We're so irritated, and sometimes even maybe a little resentful because we're well beyond our capacity. And so sometimes what happens is like, you're like, oh, I'm going to take a little break. And then once you take that break, you realize I don't even really like doing therapy, but you're seeing 40 clients a week. So how are you going to, and you're doing that because, again, all you knew is that you wanted to make six figures. You didn't have the vision in place to be like, how are we logically going to make the six figures according to my capacity? And you didn't have somebody else telling you that you probably shouldn't try making six figures on a jam-packed caseload. Like, is there someplace else that we can do this? So when you combine all those three things, that helps protect you and it helps you stay in the field a little bit longer because you're surrounding yourself with a network and a community that can see the vision as well and protect you in a sense of helping you make healthier choices for your business and for your caseload.
Yeah, yeah. I love that thought about like really that you're competing with so many different resources out there, but also they're taking care of themselves, right? Like even if you hit up AI after a certain amount of time, even if you got the paid version, ChatGPT will be like, I'm tired, boo. You can't ask me anything else. You can't ask me nothing else, right? So why wouldn't we do that for ourselves as humans, right? So I see we got a few folks watching. Please, y'all, if you want to put into the chat where you're watching from, city, state, location. Are you in the United States? Are you out of the country? Today we're having a conversation about burnout and how, if we're able to prevent that and have sustainable businesses as healers, as therapists, as social workers, we can create financial independence or financial freedom in our lives. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about brand partnerships. So I see some folks are here. We got Geronda here from Maine. Okay, come through. I've never even been to Maine, Geronda. Me and Geronda talked often because, you know, she's a part of S4P, but I got to visit Maine, you know, because Geronda talks about how beautiful it is. And I don't know if you know this, Shauna, but Geronda bought a house, I think it was last year, in Speaking for Profit, actually utilized the money made from speaking to do that. Wow. But I remember Geronda was taking me on a tour and I was like, you got all that land? So yeah, they got a lot of beautiful land there in Maine. So maybe I'll have to, I got to make a visit. So thanks for coming through, Geronda. So Shauna, let's talk about, now that we know this is how we can build sustainability, right? How do you primarily support therapists with that? Like, what does it look like to work with Shauna on building this sustainable business? And then what does it really look like to go up in your price as a therapist? Because what I heard you talking about was that rub, right? Like you want to help people, but you need to sustain yourself. But if you set a certain price, you're going to be seeing 40 or 50 people, right? Like a week or something. And that's just not sustainable. So I know that means you got to go up in your price. And, you know, I believe in that. Add a zero to it. Just make it easy, right? But I know it's not easy for everyone. So can you talk a little bit about how you work with folks and what is your strategy around pricing to support therapists in getting, not just making more, but having more of a sustainable business?
Absolutely. So, the way that I start off working with people is that I have a call and we just kind of like go over what's happening in your practice and what do you want. And most of the time, when I speak to people about what's happening in their practice, it's a couple of different things. But most of the time, I see people are at a point where they are ready to do a little bit more in their practice. They feel comfortable in their one-to-one sessions. They feel comfortable to where the business is, and maybe they're like, you know what, I feel ready to add in a retreat, or I feel ready to maybe do something else. And maybe it's like they want to add groups or something like that, or they want to build out an online course. I do a lot of digital stuff. So online courses is a big one with people. And then the next part is, most of the time someone's going to ask me, is this sustainable? Like, is this not even just sustainable? Are people still buying online courses? Is something that someone will ask. Or, like, how do I get people to show up for a retreat? The big fear is that once I move from therapy, where I was getting my clients from a directory, or I was getting my clients from like a resource that seemed like a no-brainer. I didn't have to do much work. I didn't have to do much marketing. Now I'm trying to get people into the service that is going to require for me to step out there, for me to say something, to have a message, to position myself. How do we even go about that? So I really help therapists see themselves not just as a therapist and an employee to your own practice, but as the owner of that practice, as the other roles that you're playing, right? You're not just a therapist here. You are the PR. You are the marketer. You are tech support sometimes. You are it all. Even if you were to hire somebody in, you have to be able to train them. If you were to hire a biller, you have to know what that biller is doing. Otherwise, you might not see all the money that you want to see. Mm-hmm. So we talk about all of those roles, and then we talk about, like, how are you going to play those roles? What is that going to look like? And then we dream a little bit. We talk about what is it that you want to do? You want to do retreats? Okay. So how are we going to how are we going to get the message out there? What does that look like? What does your dream retreat look like? And
so you're supporting them with like understanding the business model that they're putting together, right? Because it takes a totally different model to do a retreat compared to a digital product. But then you're also preparing them to do the marketing that it takes to fill that offer or that event, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So like a big thing that I've always talked about is niche development. And, because again, traditional model, we don't need a niche. I'm a therapist. People come to me because they're sick. They're not feeling very good. But some of us don't provide insurance, right? So some of us are not necessarily doing clinical work anymore. They're doing therapy still, and it's still just as important, but their clients look a little bit different. And so that means that you're going to speak to those people a little bit differently than if you were speaking to a different population. I know for my clients in my practice, because I do perinatal mental health, a lot of my clients are coming in after a big birth event. So that means you're going to probably want to use your insurance. You just paid up your deductible. Everything else that you do after that is either going to be a very low copay, or it's going to be no cost to you because your insurance now covers that. So I had to take that on in my prices. I had to understand that. So a lot of times what I'm doing with people is like, do you understand the people that you're speaking to? Do you really have an understanding of that niche? And can you predict what your client is going to ask you next? Which kind of ties into the next question about, like, how do we raise prices, or what does that look like for therapists? Yeah. A lot of your pricing should start with your understanding of who your people are and what is it that they want from you. I know I talked about this a lot in S4P because, like, one of the things that I came up against as I was like doing consultants is like, is the top of the business something that therapists can afford right now? And I went really back and forth with this because I want to be able to give back, which is what a lot of therapists want to do for the people that they serve. They want to give back. They see people hurting, and they don't want to price out their clients either. And all of that is understandable. But then I had to learn how to think about the business differently, because I was like, I'm also going to price myself out. I'm going to burn myself
Yep.
out if I'm running the business to the top of my capacity at high speed for the next year. I can't do that either. So where's the balance in that? And what does that look like? And if I'm not able to do that here, what other parts can I do so that I can make up for that? Am I talking directly to therapists? Maybe I'm talking to coaches to help them understand the therapist field, so that they can better serve us in our businesses, right? I'm only one business coach. There's plenty of business coaches out there, but not everybody really understands the mental health field. So even that of being able to, like, who else do we need to talk to? It's not just the
Yeah.
people you really want to talk to, the audience you're really trying to get in front of, but who else is out there for us when it comes to setting our prices?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like within mental health, therapy, healing practices in general, partnerships are going to be so important
Oh yeah.
because honestly, like no one can afford it, right? Because of the way our medical system is set up. It's not even. I mean, I was looking at the news, and what 300,000 Black women have been laid off, right?
Mhm.
Like those are 300,000 Black women who had access to formalized insurance that probably don't have access to that now. So you still
Good
want to be able to
insurance
help,
too, right? When we talk
right?
about
Good,
like, this is the cream of the crop when we're talking about
right?
medical insurance.
The
So,
good,
I
and
mean,
now they're not able to do it. So if you have something where you're able to support them, but also if you have something where you're able to support the middle ground, some of those entrepreneurs that are joining the field because they have to, right? We were just having a
mhm,
conversation about some people don't want to just be an entrepreneur. They didn't just wake up one day and like, oh, I want to start a business. They don't have a choice because they don't have a job now, right?
yeah.
But you're able to probably be that person who's in the middle ground. So when it comes to establishing, and this is going to pivot right a little bit into the brand partnership, establishing partnerships with brands in general, what advice do you give to creators around that? Because I know that for you, you're particular, Shauna. You're not going to just do an affiliate partnership with everybody and anybody. So, do you have like ways that you decide on who you want to partner with? Is it like a protocol? Is it about
Mhm.
trust building? Is it about relationship? Is it about a win win for you? Like, how do you decide this is someone I want to partner with, whether it's a brand or another therapist in the field?
Yeah, so, my network is so important to me, and I will say that this year has been the year where I'm just so proud of the collaborations, the coaching that I received, the network that I've built is just, it's solid. It's pretty solid. And that, like, I think once you learn how to network well, and you build up the people around you, you start to see that network like almost giving back almost immediately. Like the return of interest on the network that I've built is just it's it's crazy. It feels like wow. And I say that because like there was times where I did interviews and then someone that I interviewed that I like started conversations with that I really enjoyed, they would do something and I'm like, oh wait, how'd you do that? Or I'll go back and be like, do you have any connections? May you introduce me? And I'll get an introduction. So that really helped. Or there's been times where I'm like, tell me about your experience, if you feel so inclined to. And they'd be like, oh, I don't know about this. And so that really helped to direct me in like okay, do I really want to take this on or not? Um, I will also say a thing about my network is like when I first was like getting ready to approach, let me back up a little bit. So when I decided that I wanted to work with other brands, it really started off with like a manifestation. It was right around my birthday when I was like, you know what, I really, really want to work with these people, and I just kept saying it over and over and over again, and it just feels like I attracted them to me. And I know that sounds really woo woo, but like
There's power in
I
manifestation because you put in the
yeah,
work too, right? We'll get to that. So you can't just say
absolutely.
it, right? You gotta put in
Yeah.
some work as well.
But it was just a matter of like starting to believe in myself more. And there's also, and this is where like the burnout comes in. And I know you remember this, I was running on fumes. I was exhausted. I was like, it feels like the business is in a free fall right now. I was deeply affected by Hurricane Helene, and not in the matter of stuff, but in the matter of like, this is my community. This is the community that my husband works in. And my business was deeply affected from it. And from that time, I just felt like it was a whirlwind. And it felt so difficult to get things back on track. But once I was like, okay, we're going to have to put some things aside. I'm going to have to get some contracts. Once I did all of that and I got it back on track, I was able to dream again. I was able to be like, you know what? There's more to it than this, but everything is cool. I'm back at baseline, and now I can start reaching, because I'm not reaching from the hole that I've dug. I'm reaching from just ground right now.
Yeah.
And so once I was there and I was able to kind of like get back onto ground, then I was like, I think I want to work with these particular people. And I just kept saying it over and over again. And it stopped becoming, I think I want to do this, with I have to work with them. I need to figure out a way. So here I am using AI, reaching out, like, who can I find? Where can this happen? And lo and behold, like in my email, a name just popped up and I was like, oh, wow. Like, yes. And then once that name popped up, I was very hesitant, because I was like, I must be imagining this. But I brought it back and I just started talking to people about it on the side. Like, hey, that's a good question, Geronda. But I was like, hey, reaching out to my network. Do you know anything about this organization? Has anybody approached you? This organization approached me. I'm really excited, but I don't want to, what advice do you have to give? And I was so excited, because my network really poured into me from there. And that allowed me to go into it with a clear head. And even like when I would get offers, there was times where I was like, I don't really like this offer. I want this particular thing. It was my network who was like, go back and talk to them. Go back and say, this is what I need. Negotiate, which for me as a Black woman, negotiating is hard. And it is a fact that we don't do it enough. And so these were like some of the first moments where I was like, no, actually, this is what I'm worth. This is my price. Can you meet me here? What does that look like? And I was like, can you meet me here? But when folks said yes, I was like, oh no, wait a minute. This was like a whole change of mindset for me.
Yeah, because you kind of knew then that people were taking you serious, right? So I want to back up a little bit, right? Because I want people to know you got a brand partnership, which is great. But the brand partnership in particular is connected to the business that you do, right? So this is a therapist tool that you're a brand ambassador, an affiliate of. When you got that email from that, you're like, okay, I know a person in my network who kind of is connected with them. We could probably have a conversation. And then you were in conversation with them. I remember you brought it into S4P. And I think during that time, you were thinking it could be one way. And by the end of that conversation, you were like, oh no, I can ask for a whole lot more. I'm wondering for you, and you might remember the conversation, you might not. What was the thing that shifted where you were like, this isn't just another like affiliate, like I can ask for more and this could be like longevity. And maybe it was from the conversation with us, or maybe it was something else, but I remember it was a switch where it was like, not saying you were thinking small potatoes, Shauna, but you were thinking like, well, we could just do this. And then you were like, actually, nah, we could do a whole lot more.
Yeah, it was definitely an S4P. And I will say it was when you were like, I was like, hey, I think I want to pitch this. And I will say, because I think this is something with people who have a lot of ideas, this is something that many people experience. What I will say is that I was like, I'm also an above and beyond kind of person. Yep. So where I'm like, I'm going to go above and beyond. I want to do this thing for them, and I want to give them all. And, you do this so well, but you were kind of like, pump the brakes, slow down. You don't have to offer all that. And I was just kind of like, okay. But it was you don't have to offer all of that, and you can ask for more. Let's try this. And so it's been a lot of mindset shift for me, of being like, you know what, my above and beyond is actually worth a lot more than I think it is. And I think this is the thing for therapists, is that we do above and beyond a lot. We do it above and beyond in sessions, right? Client will come to us and they're going to give us all of that they got where it comes to the trauma that they're experiencing, their day-to-day happenings. We're getting it all. And we have to filter through that in 50 minutes, 53 minutes if you're charging insurance. So that is a lot to do. And like, we put it all on the table every day, back to back to back to back. So for me, when I have this opportunity where I'm like, oh, someone's going to pay me a lot of money, I have to put it all on the table. I've got to give them everything that I got, back to back to back to back. And just getting the permission to not having to do that was such a relief, but it also was kind of like, oh, okay. If I don't have to do above and beyond every time I do a partnership, every time I pitch, if I can just pitch something that solves the problem efficiently and quickly, and then do some add-ons, I could do that multiple times.
Yep.
I can do that.
You could have multiple partnerships.
I could have multiple partnerships instead of doing above and beyond with one partnership and getting this one deal this one time. Right. And of course, we do it within your contracts, right? And what the contracts say. But like realizing like, oh, this is how you make more. It's not, doing the thing that is the most viable that you can be, right? Like I feel like a therapy service, that one-to-one direct service, it's very intimate, but it is the most that you're going to give when it comes to that work. And that's how it should be when it comes to therapy. But how do I replicate something on a lower level scale and give it out more than once so that I don't have to do that 40 times a week? Yeah. I can do that 15 times a week where I'm performing my optimal at best, giving the clients the best that I've got every session, and then not have to worry about where's the rest of the money going to come for my bills.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember that particular conversation because I know you had a really lengthy proposal, and I was like, wait, let's definitely stop the brakes. Mm-hmm. But I think what's so brilliant about you, Shauna, is that you're realizing why you do it, right? Because you said, like, I always want to over deliver. And I think for some of us, and y'all, if y'all aren't taking notes, I don't know what you're doing. If you're watching live or the replay, but get your notebook out. But I think so many of us, we don't realize that our over deliver is overdue, right? Like we don't realize that our bare minimum is actually the over deliver. And we want to almost tease it out and give people an opportunity to show us where they're at. Because sometimes we're on 2.0 or 3.0 and they're still not even on 1.0. They're on the beginner's course of this whole process, but we're so brilliant, we don't realize that. And then we give so much and then we have no more to give. So I'm happy that you're able to realize that with that brand partnership. I think what you're sharing is you had a personal connection. That person was able to connect you, but you still had to put into action and actually pitch and get into conversation with them. So I wanted you to share with the audience what that process was like, because I know there's several people here who are part of our pitch competition or not. And if they're not, they should join it, but that are sitting on pitches. Like they got people in their phone right now that they can be hitting up for business and they're not doing it, whether it's a brand partnership or whether it's a speaking gig or you want to go sing at this event that you know that you would be perfect for, whatever it may be, but they're not doing it because they won't send the email. So one, what was the process like of writing the email? And then how did you get the courage to send the messaging over?
Yeah, I've said this before and I will say it again. Like, I feel like for me, I'm such a gentle spirit. And I really had to learn this about myself, is that like, for me, a no is very harsh. And I had to learn how to be okay with those no's as much as I love getting a yes. I knew like, specifically with like this brand partnership, I'm learning a lot. Because it's putting me out there in a way that I will get random comments, and those comments hurt. They do not feel very good. And again, I'm just like a kind of person where I'm just like, I want to run away and hide sometimes from that.
Don't read the comments, Shauna. I don't read all y'all comments. I'll be honest with y'all. I got some stuff up here. If it's shade, I barely even see it. I don't like reading the
Yeah.
comments.
And honestly, on TikTok, it's just filtered out. Like, and I'll go in and I'll remove it. I don't care that it's engagement. I think that sometimes these algorithms kind of put us in a place where it's like it's engagement to just take it, right? And so for me, it's a little bit different because I'm in a brand partnership. I also have to filter that through them. But I think part of it was also getting to know the brand well enough to know, are you going to back me up if I need something? Can I get in contact with you? If I message you, how quick are you messaging back? Are you keeping me in the loop? Those kinds of things. So I'm thankful because I get that. I get what I need from it. And someone also told me, like, this is a relationship. You have to monitor it. You have to make sure that they are going to not treat you like a commodity, but treat you as a partner. You are a partner to them. And that also opens up yourself and your business. And it can do that in multiple ways. It can bring out more exposure, right? And bring more of your audience to you. It can also bring out some trolls. So there was that part of just being like comfortable enough to hear a no, to risk getting a no as well. But the thing that I kept in mind as I was writing out this email, as I was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, I was sitting on pins and needles the whole time, but I was like, what happens if they say yes? Like, what is that like if I just put it out there and there's no fight? And guess what? I put it out there and they were like, we can do that. We won't do this, but we'll do that. And I was like, take it. I'm like, yes, let's go for it. And there's been times where I've shown up in somebody's email or shown up in somebody's inbox and they've just been like, ew, spam, or no, we're not doing that. And it hurt. It didn't feel very good. But then I'm also thankful because less time wasted, right? All I did was send an email for that. Cool. I didn't start like a whole friendship or like a whole relationship only to get strung along. So there's also that of like, you know what? Thank you for that no. So now I know where to turn my head to and where to focus on and where to put more eggs in that basket.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing in the emotionality of the no's though, because I think that it's so easy to just be like, well, I need more no's and, to get more yeses and be really in this like woo woo place about it. But rejection is not easy. And I was actually reading something that, like young women are not really trained around rejection, right? Like it's actually like this gendered thing that they do as young people, right? Where young masculine folks get more rejection growing up. So usually in sales, they say that women don't last because of that, right? But
Mhm.
I think what you're speaking to, Shauna, is you're looking at the data and the science, which can help us with our emotionality. What we know is everyone's not going to say yes. And what we also know is if everyone did say yes, we would be burnt out because we can't take on
Mhm.
everyone. So I do appreciate a good no. I have some LinkedIn messaging going on out right now because I want to connect with more speakers, obviously bring them into the profitable speaker circle, the most diverse, y'all, free school community for public speakers. So make sure that you join. And I sent out messages and I just was going through LinkedIn. Sometimes I take a day, y'all. I don't go through messages every day. And I seen 10 of them, right? 2 people were like, hey, I actually seen your YouTube. I love your work. Would love to stay connected. Maybe we can get on a call soon. Cool. 2 people were like, who the hell are you? Get out of my inbox. You're a spammer. You're a scam. People can't get paid from public speaking. Probably 2 more people were just like, I don't speak anymore, right? Like that's not a thing
Mhm.
that I do. And maybe 2 people out of that were like, Evolve, I'm ready to join your community or followed me on YouTube, which is what I want people to do. So if you're watching now, go subscribe on YouTube. So I say all that to say, if there's like a gift of 10, 2% probably are going to be your people. So volume is important because it just gives you more clarity on like who is the person that you're supposed to work with. So I hope that'll help you too as you look at your data. But I just appreciate that you're upfront, that it doesn't feel good for someone to say no. And I'm at the point in my business, Shauna, where it doesn't always feel good when people say yes. Because
Mm.
sometimes when too many people are saying yes, that's how I know the offer is too good. That's how I knew
Mhm.
with that, speaker's real offer that I put out. It sold out in like 5 minutes. And I was like, damn, I priced that thing too low.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned before, like women being rejection adverse. I
Mhm.
remember when I was younger, I was like in high school, And it was like around the time where you're like starting to get boyfriends and those kinds of things. And like, I remember my first boyfriend broke up with me. It was long distance. They lived across.
No, he didn't.
And I was devastated, like devastated. I went to my little brother's graduation, his 5th grade graduation. I was crying at the national anthem. My sister was like, get it together. But one of the things that she said to me, and it always stuck with me, is like, it's good that this happened because we have to get used to breakups. And, we have to get used to dating. This is what dating is. And it sounds weird because there's a lot of like cultural implications around young girls, specifically young Black girls, dating. We talk about fastness and all of that other stuff, but really, like, there is, like, when we're looking at some studies, like developmental studies, young Black girls, their counterparts are actively dating in high school. And then when they get to a phase in their life, like college, where they are dating as well and learning and doing all of these things, they're also multitasking, right? They're building up their life for the next step. Whereas some girls are achievement focused, right? So they go through all of those achievements and now they have to figure out how to get rejected, how to date, what that looks like in a later part of their lives where their counterparts are already doing that. So I think that there is some, and then this also plays out in when you're going to work, and what is it like to negotiate? What is it like to say what you want? This is what I want. This is what I need. I work with so many people who don't really know how to express, like, I need this thing. This is important to me. And how to work through when someone's like, I don't know if I want to do that for you, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
There's like a conundrum in being like, do I stay here and just take this? Do I go someplace else? What if no one else offers that? So like all of those things go through my mind when I'm pitching as well, because it's a matter of being like getting used to someone being like, no, and not taking that to heart and being like, it's something wrong with me versus you're missing out, right? Like, no, what I have to offer is great. You're going to miss out, and I'm going to take my business someplace and I'm going to make you so upset that you missed out on this business. And by the time you circle back, you're going to pay more.
Oh, goodness. Yes. The prices went up, definitely. So folks, if you have questions, put them into the comments, please, right? So that we can answer those questions for you. And I know we have one already available, but Shauna, what you're speaking to in sales psychology, right? Because I'm doing a lot of studies around sales. Really, when someone says no, it actually takes a lot to give a no too, right? There's another side of that. Have you ever been on something and you're like, damn, I really shouldn't do this, right? But I say yes. I'm like, ooh. So the no is actually really powerful. So I think this is just a sales training for folks who are watching, and for you, Shauna. When we do get a no, I think that there's a way for us to pivot a little bit. And instead of just accepting it or feeling crushed, we could say, okay, tell me a little bit more about why no. Is it timing? Is it right now? Is it pricing? Is it just not anything that interests you? And then you get more data on what the no really is about. And that might be able to pivot the conversation. When I was first in sales, I would get so defeated by the no that I'll be like, okay, well, fine. Right. And then I'll just get off the call. But what I've learned is a lot of times that's people's defense mechanism, or they're saying no, not to, especially in the work that I do, right? Like as like a growth strategist for business owners, like I'm helping you grow past a moment of stagnancy or a ceiling that you haven't been able to get past on your own. Sometimes that no is out of fear, because it's like, actually, no, I don't want to go through all of that to become this person. I'm feeling the pressure of it, right? So asking why no is, and a lot of people do not expect that. And it actually makes them have to actually think about why and what the process is. Because if it's pricing, sometimes you could work things out. If it's timing, you could follow up with them in the near and dear future, right? Like if it's just a no, then you don't even have to put them in your follow-up process. You could just take them out of your CRM. But I find that like 99% of the time, it's not a solid no. Most of the solid no's won't even end up on a sales call with you, to be honest. Yeah. So just some game and some things to think about. So you got this brand partnership, you're working with this brand, and you're primarily creating content on TikTok, correct?
I'm actually creating content across the board now. And so the thing with the partnership was that TikTok is where they were like, you've got great engagement, you've got a strong audience here. Like, yes, definitely post to TikTok. But what I also like was, because it's a partnership, they come back with the stats, right? So they come back and they're like, hey, like, let's see what happens if you did this over here. And so it actually helped me to expand out my content, go back to Instagram. I started on Instagram, found my way on TikTok, and just stayed at TikTok.
Yeah.
So I went back and I started reposting for Instagram. I relearned Instagram as well and I'm really proud of the content that I've been putting out lately, especially that works well on TikTok. And then I also was like, you know what? I do have a YouTube channel. Let me make good use of this. So not only that, it plays across like all the places I have. So I have my social media, TikTok, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I have a Patreon, but I also have an email list. And the email list is something that I've really been disciplining myself with, because it's an active email list. It's a good place for leads, but it's a good place to get information out in a way that, like, hey, you gave me my email, I'm going to give you back something that's worth an open. Yeah. So I've really been playing around with that and like giving really good content to my email list. I'm really proud of that as well. And that's another place where that partnership shows up.
Yeah. Okay. That's really cool. That's really cool. So when you think about preparing folks, and then folks, please put your questions in the chat. I'm gonna stop my questions because I'm getting my own coaching from Shauna right now. I know y'all might be a little jealous. It's okay. Y'all gonna get your questions as well. So make sure you put them in the chat. But when it comes to particularly brand partnerships, what would you do differently if you got another one? And what are some things that will always be like a part of that foundation with brand partnerships moving forward?
Yeah. I tell myself closed mouths don't get fed often. Janelle, when I worked with her in the Ascension Challenge, she also said, the one time she said, y'all not broke enough for me. Like, those are the things I kind of live by. And so whenever I see something now, I speak up right away. I don't just think it and wait for them to come to me. I'm often like, hey, what do you think about this? Or if there's an issue, there's a problem, I gather my information, I gather the details, and I say, like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. What do you think about this? Can we try this? Or what do you recommend? So that I don't feel like, I'm waiting for someone to be like, you're messing up here, right? Like, I'm trying to be as proactive as possible. And I want them to see, like, I'm invested in this, right? I really am truly being a partner. I'm really trying to be a collaborator so that we both get what we want out of this.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Anything that you would do differently?
Like to get the yeah. I think, I the big thing is I count myself short. So I would stop doing that immediately. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I had went back and I had realized I was approached by a brand 3 times. And this was when my following was way smaller. It was way smaller, and this brand had been watching me. And because I just didn't have a mindset that I was good enough for them, or nobody would approach me at the place that I was at, but they were approaching me when it was much less, where I was talking directly to, like, I wasn't expanded out in my content and messaging and all of those things. It was like humble beginnings at that point in time. So I realized that I don't give myself enough credit. And that's the thing. I would go back and start giving myself credit way, way sooner. I could have given myself credit 2-3 years ago. But I just waited so long until it was, oh, once we get here, it's this. Once we get here, it's that. And the big thing that I realized is I would arrive at those points and just be like, oh, no, not good enough yet. When I got 10K on TikTok, I waited 2-3 weeks. I waited until it was like 12K before I was like, you know what? Let me enter the creator partnership program. I was already like, I had already qualified for it. I had already had high viewership on some of those posts, and I could have made money from those posts for like almost a month. But I was so hesitant about it because I was like, oh, I arrived here, but the arrival point is not big enough, or the arrival point isn't what I thought it would be. And so it was a matter of being like, no, we're not waiting for arrival anymore. We have arrived. What are we doing right here, right now to get more of what we want?
Yeah, we got to celebrate those moments, Shauna. So I'm happy that that's what you would do differently. I think it's big for you to know you're a big deal, right? And not to let this happen. I was at the podcast summit about a month ago, and my mentor spoke about how to monetize your podcast. And one of the things he was talking about was brand partnerships and sponsorship. And he was like, you don't have to wait until you have a big brand to be able to do this. So he gave us homework, right, to make sure that we got a sponsor in the next like couple of weeks. So that's something that's on my homework for my podcast. So if you're watching this and you're like, you want to sponsor the Speaking for Profit podcast, hit me up. We are looking for one. But I'm put together a pitch deck and all of that because truthfully, we try to wait until we're at these big numbers. And a lot of people are interested in the few hundreds, thousands of people that are listening and watching because you have a niche community. And sometimes that is even more impactful and helpful. So thanks for sharing with us and taking us a little bit behind the scenes. I do want to go to Q&A to get some questions. And then we'll kind of wrap up in the space. So I know we got one from Geronda here that you said was a great question. So Geronda says, I'm curious, do you advise therapists to partner with or network with coaches? I've seen therapists pass on clients to coaches when they're ready for their future selves. Hope this makes sense.
Yeah. I think that is great. I also see a lot of sometimes therapists want to transition into coaching. And so I think if you are a therapist and you find a coach that you're like, I love their program, I love what they have going on, you feel like they move with integrity. The big thing for a therapist is we are very protective of our license. Our license is our everything, right? We work so hard for it in the first place, and we work hard to maintain it. So I know that for many of us, we don't want to affiliate ourselves with people who are not doing what they should be doing, or people who are not moving with integrity. So if you were to do that, I would just say, make sure that you're vetting that partnership, you're vetting the person that you're working with, and that they're moving with that integrity as well. And I will also say, like, recognize that a partnership doesn't have to be forever. It could be for the season. It could be for right now. And it might be like, you know what, let's give this a 6 months trial to see if it works, if my clients like this, if it makes sense for us. And then, after that, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can move forward. But I don't think there's anything wrong with therapists and coaches working together at all. I think that for some of us, it's hard because the big thing about therapy is that it's a medical necessity, right? You need therapy as much as you need a doctor. So when we see coaches out there and they're like, oh my goodness, they're charging this huge rate that I could never dream of charging as a therapist. Part of that is because it's a bit of a luxury item. And so sometimes we have to kind of find that middle ground of being like, I like what this program has to offer. I like what the price point is. I think my clients would do right by this. And we could certainly work together to either talk about like what step down works like, or like maybe what an affiliate program looks like. And of course, do it within your ethical code, because there is some stuff where you have to be mindful that there's some ethics on that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree, Shauna. I think it's important to kind of sometimes separate, house from house, and you got to be careful with that licensure. I mean, I'm not a licensed therapist, but we don't want you to put that in for that to impact it. So I think that was a great question from Geronda. I guess my follow-up question, and folks, if you have them, please put them in the chat, is when it comes to being a therapist and marketing, one thing that I've heard is that you all can't technically market. Is that a true thing, or is that something I'm making up?
No, we can market. However, one of the things that when it comes to marketing, like one of the first things that you hear when it comes to marketing is the social proof aspect. So people are like, well, where's your testimonial? Where is your reviews? What does this look like? And it's just kind of like, I can't ask for reviews. In I'm a my code of ethics is ACA. I
What's
know as
ACA
well
stand for?
American Counseling Association.
Okay.
So, and then there is the National Association for Social Workers has another code of ethics. So the social work code of ethics is like the most rigorous when it comes to the therapist, I would say. There's also like every discipline has its code of ethics. The marriage and family therapists, they have their own code of ethics too. But sometimes what will happen is like I'll look at the ACA code of ethics and then I have to turn around and see like what does the social work one say as well to see if they're aligned or to see if that top one is different in some way. But they both say you cannot solicit clients. So you can't go to them and say, hey, can you write me a review? Because there's a power differential between a therapist and the client. Even if like a therapist and a therapist are working together, there's still a power differential because you're probably not good telling that therapist all sorts of the behind the scenes. They don't know all of that stuff. So it puts the clients in a position, if you're asking for reviews, it sometimes put them in a position where they feel like they have to perform for you or they have to do certain things for you. So there's parts of marketing that we can't follow, which is one of the reasons why I am a consultant for therapists when it comes to their business, because we do want to put ourselves out there. We do want to be able to market, but we have to do it in a way that makes sense for our codes of ethics, where we're not putting ourselves in a weird position. So we can market. We just have to be really mindful of that. It's the same thing with social media. Like we shouldn't be on social media talking about our clients at all, right? That's a break in confidentiality. You're in the ACA code of ethics. There's a line that says like you're not even supposed to be friends with clients on social media, right? So like there's big things that
Friends
we
with my
have.
old therapist.
Yeah.
Well, we always been friends on Facebook. You know, I know that's kind of like a thing we're not supposed to do, but I do miss her, and I love that I get to keep track of her life. Her name is Kathy. She's my old white lady. I appreciate her a lot. Kathy, if you're watching, you wouldn't say anything, but I appreciate your support. I know she'd be sliding in on my lives. I know she's sliding in, but I've heard that you're supposed to keep that attachment. What's wild, Shauna, Kathy was my first therapist when I was living in LA. The reason I chose her was because she was so close. Anyone who's ever lived in a major city knows about traffic. She was so close, I could walk to therapy, which was great. Like I literally could walk. She was like my neighbor. So I would see her at the grocery store, right? I would see her at the local farmers market. So I think that's why she was like, it's going to be a meshment. We just have to figure out the boundaries around it. And she did a really good job with that.
Absolutely. And some therapists don't want to touch that. And I understand that completely, right? So like part of it is like finding your groove, finding your balance, finding what you're comfortable with, right? Some therapists would be like, "Oh, that's a slippery slope. Don't do that." So there's so many things that you have to think about. Like you have to think about your license first. Even for like something that I tell therapists all the time, if they want to go into coaching, I'm like, you can go into coaching, but as long as you hold a license, you're going to be held to the standard of that license. So you're not just a coach, you are a therapist and you're a therapist first. And so you have to be so mindful about how you're presenting that coaching. It can't be like, oh, well, you're in this state, so I'm just going to provide coaching to you. No. Because technically speaking, what you should do if someone's in a state that you're not licensed in is find them a therapist or help them get connected with someone who is licensed in that state. And you can't just be like, I'm going to drop down to coaching just because. Now, if they were a fit for coaching, you have a specific program, go for it. But there's so much that we have to be at play with when it comes to the things that we're doing. So yes, we can absolutely market, but you better think about your license first. And you want to find someone who can like help support you in that. I know Shay is another therapist. She's on the Facebook side. And she too helps therapists with marketing. And one of the things that I say to the therapist is that we actually should be coaching each other because this is our business and who understands it and who knows it better than us. But there is specific things that we have to go through. There's also specific things that we have to break down. There's some things that I've done in S4P and I'm like, oh, I could do that. I never thought about that. or even just like switching the mindset from I'm not trading my dollars for hours right now. I'm trading a package. I'm trading a deal here. This is not just, oh, like I usually make X amount per hour. Will you pay me my X amount per hour? This is, can you see my package that I have here for you? And a lot of the skills that we have for therapists are transferable to a lot of things, lot of things, right? I can teach so much in a digital course. But again, that digital course is not, oh, this is what I charge per hour. That digital course is a package. I'm teaching you a full thing here.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing how to break those up. So I got one more question for you, and then I would love for you to share with people how they can work with you. If someone's watching today and they've been thinking about joining specifically the academy, and for folks who might be interested in it, we're in open enrollment until October 3rd, and then we're shutting things down until 2026. But if they're interested in being in the academy, being in our community, what should they know, right? Like, what would you want them to know before they join? And why should they join? What are maybe some of the benefits that you've been able to receive during being in the community?
Oh, wow. Okay. So why should they join S4P? I think that S4P, I've done a lot of different coaching. I've said this in a Facebook post before. This is probably top 5 of the different kinds of coaching that I've done where I've just seen huge returns. The service really does. It's kind of like, I shared this before, I'm a bit of a Disney adult. And so like this is my girl math Disney logic coming into play where every year I buy my annual pass and I convince myself that my annual pass pays for itself, right? I'm like, yeah, by the time I do 3 Disney trips, the annual pass is free. So it kind of feels like that. Like by the time that 6 months rolls around in S4P, it has paid itself. I truly saw a return investment and I saw so much growth from just learning how to make the ask, learning how to learning how to make the ask, and learning like meeting so many people. Like S4P is such a rich environment as far as like just learning from the others who are in there. I don't know if anybody feels comfortable with me shouting out their names, but like the other members of S4P, like that master class, that weekly master class, sometimes I don't have anything to bring, but I show up just so that I can hear what everybody else is doing, just so that I can get the motivation, right? Like some people show up and they just smile and giggle and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I've missed you. Where have you been? So the community in there is so rich. And I really enjoy that. But just like the pushing and not in a forceful bullying way, like it never felt like you have to do this or like, I can't believe you're still doing this. It felt like now Shauna, please think about this, or like, let's take a step back. Like you can slow down, you can pump your brakes on this one, and just getting to the point of being like, oh yeah, like I can do that. I have to share your flowers here, Evolve. But one time I remember when I was putting together a pitch and you said, why not 50K? And my heart dropped. I thought I was going to cry in that moment. And I was like, why? Like, why would I ask that? I really had to wrap my head around that. But like, it brought me to a moment of like, I am worth 50K. I do have 50K ideas and then some. And this is how I'm going to get there, right? Like it just helped me to kind of open up that that my future again, right? Being able to see my future as like I put in the work. I've been a therapist for 12 plus years. I have the master's degree. I have the experience. I have it all. I've paid my dues. Now it's my time. And this is how we're going to do it.
Yes. I'm gonna take the flowers because right now I'm working on really receiving affirmations and receiving. I don't do good with that. I take it and then I take it and not throw it away, but you know what I mean. You take it in and then you don't really take it in. But it's been so powerful. I'm so thankful to know you, Shauna. Right? Like I remember I met you and you had just went through the hurricane, right? Like, And for you to be like, you know what, I'm ready. I really want to still get this going. Like, I know I have a message. One of the things that if I can give it to you over and over again is that you are powerful and you're worthy. And don't let nobody play you and believe that you're not. And I know that because of, not just because of therapy, but because the way that the world showcases and tries to talk down to Black women in particular, it takes a lot of work to push past some of that bullshit that they give us, right? And YouTube, sorry if you're going to flag me, but really, like, they give us that, and then we don't really feel aligned with asking for more. But I know you showing up in the community with your ideas and with your wisdom, it has other people wanting to ask for more. So thank you for always showing up vulnerable and being like, you know what, I think y'all tell me if I'm doing too much. You'll say that before you even go into telling us about something, because you want that as feedback. Whereas sometimes people just want, can you just read through this for me? Right? It's more like functional, but you're really trying to work on your mindset as a CEO. And I think that that's why people, if they haven't even considered it, if they've been thinking about it, that they should work with you. So tell folks, how can they work with you if they're interested? She is not over here soliciting y'all to be clients. This is to work with her as a marketing support and a coach. This is not for therapy, because you just said we can't do that, and I don't want to risk your license when you do your pitch. So we've been clear on that. This is not for that side. If you want to slide in on that side, she has proper things set up, but this is for you as a coach.
I appreciate that. So I function as I feel like I'm an architect when it comes to therapists and their business, right? And I'm really focusing on strategy. And so if you are someone, and now I've got a couple of things going on. So the big thing right now that I think is so exciting is the Great Lock-in, and there's two sides of it. It's all emails. But there is a private practice side where you're trying to launch your private practice. You're getting so much information, and we're doing it week by week. So every week you get a new theme, you get something to work on, and you're getting all sorts of stuff. Like sometimes there's podcasts in there, sometimes there's videos in there for you to really think about how you're going to go about launching your private practice. So if you're someone who wants to launch the private practice and you're looking for some kind of coaching or coursework, this is for you, because it's email and it's free right now. The next aspect is the content creation side. And so one thing that I feel like for me is that content creation opened up so much doors. And I think part of that was learning how to message, finding the trend, and then also just being able to put content out there even when it's not doing what you want it to do. I remember, like, when I first started on YouTube, I was kind of like, oh, well, my videos don't get anything. And then I started just uploading shorts, and I went back and I was like, oh my goodness, some of my shorts have thousands of views on them. I didn't even really know that. I kind of was like making YouTube a throwaway. So part of it is like, perfecting that message, figuring out what the message is, figuring out who you're speaking to. But the other part of it is learning how to put yourself out there in a way so that you can figure out what is your avenue. Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? If it's TikTok, fine, but we can take that TikTok and repurpose it and put it on Instagram. If it's blogs, that's great. How are you going to get people to see your blog, right? So that starts with my advanced therapist content bank. And right now you can get access to that on my website. I'm going to share the links with you, Evolve. And I would say, if you are trying to figure out content, go ahead and get yourself that bank, because come October, I am relaunching it, and that price is going to go up because I am loading it full of things. There's going to be some videos on there to help you create that content. There's going to be all sorts of new templates that bring it up to date, because like some people would be like, oh, you need a hook, but they don't tell you what kind of hook you need. And they don't tell you the shift that is happening on social media right now, right? We're moving from what social media used to be to what it is right now, which is really more interest-based, right? So we have to figure out how to capture people's interest in the way that it's happening right now in this moment. And I'm updating all of the templates that I have in it right now to reflect that. So that's going to be coming refreshed in October. If you already have access to it like right now, then once it gets refreshed in October, you'll have all of the new stuff on there, and you'll get access to all the new stuff for the old price. So there is that. And lastly, if you're looking for some consultation work or some coaching work with myself on your therapy biz, please feel free to get on a call. Let's talk this out. Let's see what you're looking for. And we'll move from there. So you can get on a strategy call with me. It's just 15 minutes, but it's a lot of information that we can go through in that time to start visioning what we want for that practice to look like and get an idea of like, what's that first step? The first step is working with me, but we can talk more about that on the call.
I love that. The first step is working with me, y'all. So we're going to put the links to that in the description. But if you're watching on any platform, we have tagged Shauna as well. So you can reach out on Facebook. You can also reach out on LinkedIn. And Shauna, I just want to thank you so much for being here, showing up for the conversation, y'all. We'll add those links to the description. So make sure that you go for it. In a couple of weeks, y'all, we do have a book coach coming in to talk about getting your first book done. So meet us back here, not next Tuesday, but Tuesday, September 23rd. We're going to bring in Gio DeRice to talk about getting your first book done. So that'll be our next live session. If you're in the Profitable Speaker Circle or the Academy, get your questions ready because we will prioritize your questions for those live events. But thank you again, Shauna, so much for being here. And everyone else, thank you so much for showing up, using your most valuable resource with us, which is your time. And we'll see you inside one of our amazing programs very soon.
Yay.
Peace, y'all.